Hello and welcome to the Docking Base 77 podcast YouTube channel. I am one of the hosts, Dayton Johnson. We are doing another one of our versus episodes where we take an original song and compare it to a cover version. Joining me, because I had to have him on it because this topic was his suggestion, it is a college roommate and guy that draws very cool stuff. In fact, you can see some of it on the wall behind me. Welcome back, John Wright. How you doing?
I'm doing well and struggling to come up with an intro quite as good as our buddy Eric Brock's.
I know. I'm gonna have to just have him start writing them. If you haven't checked out our regular stream, go check out our cover top seven cover songs episode, and then by the time this comes out, also our recent Kiss album review. So yes, he always seems to one up everybody else. But anyway, so for this versus episode, we are discussing the song "Midlife Crisis," done originally by Faith No More, and then covered later by Disturbed. Now. Um, John, why did you pick these? Because I had never heard the covered version from Disturbed. So why don't you tell us about where this came from?
Well, as you know, back in the day, you and I were big Faith No More guys back in college.
Yes.
Primarily the Epic album. Angel
Yes,
Dust
the
was a
real thing was a great, great
yeah,
album. So
real
good.
thing. Excuse me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. But everybody
Angel
knows
Dust.
Epic, so
Yeah,
that's yeah.
Angel Dust was a bit of a departure for me from Faith No More. I struggled kind of to get into them with this album because they got a little
Yep.
bit more artsy. They got a little bit more away from the rap metal sound that they helped create.
Yes.
However, Midlife Crisis was a standout song on the album for me, and I hadn't listened to it in a very, very long time. And then a few years ago, when I was dating my wife, Disturbed was coming to town and they had some other bands on the bill that she was interested in. So we decided we were going to go. And she's like, well, if we're going to stay for all these bands, I need to listen to some more of their stuff to kind of be refamiliarize myself. And I'm like,
Right.
yeah, I used to like Disturbed back in the day and I kind of got out of them. So started deep diving onto their catalog. And lo and behold, the album Lost Children comes up. And lo and behold, Midlife Crisis. I'm like, there's no way they covered a Faith No More song. There's no way. And I'm like, holy shit, they covered a Faith No More song.
Yes. Yes, they did. Yeah, so that's funny because when we were a couple different times a few weeks back when I was making our list of the covers and things we wanted to talk about, you had mentioned this one to me, and I was kind of like, I didn't know that happened. So
Yeah,
going into this, I had not heard the cover version until preparing for this. So this was a nice little treat for me. And like you, very familiar with the original. I remember seeing the video a lot. And in
mm-hmm.
fact, the last 24 hours, that song has been stuck in my head, I guess, in
it's
preparation for this.
it's
It
a
gets
bit
in
of an
there.
earworm. It's a
It
bit of an
is.
earworm. And to Disturbed's credit, they do a lot of covers, a
Yeah, they do.
lot, and
Yeah.
some ones you'd never expect.
Yes. Like Sounds of Silence, which is all
Or yeah, or If I Ever Lose My Faith
right.
by the police. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So yes, a lot of those are actually on our wish list to cover at some point. So, all right. So let's go ahead. Before we get into the facts on the first one, John mentioned the real thing. So we actually did a full length episode on that. Go back a few years into our stream and check it out. We did discuss that album. Fantastic album.
yeah, I was supposed to be on that one, but family commitments.
Yeah, well, things happen. Yes.
Yep.
All right. So the original song. From their fourth album, Angel Dust, released in 1992, the follow up to The Real Thing, as we mentioned, this album was both the most successful album, selling over 2 million copies and hitting number 10 on the Billboard 200, and their last with guitarist Jim Martin. Just a side note, he had only two writing credits on this album, and I think you can tell by listening to it. The first single, this actually was the first single off the album, released May 25th. It did reach number one on the US Billboard Modern Rock charts, number 10 on the UK Singles chart, and number 32 on the mainstream rock chart. So very successful. Now, Mike Patton's so odd. The working title for this song was called Madonna. Why? Well, Patton claims this song isn't really about having a midlife crisis because he had no idea what that would feel like because he was only barely in his 20s at the time. Quote, it's more about creating false emotion, being emotional, dwelling on your emotions, and in a sense, inventing them, unquote. He felt that every time he saw Madonna on TV or in a magazine or whatever during the early 1990s, She was everywhere, and she always seemed to be looking like she was going through something. That quote, it seems like she's getting a bit desperate. So whatever. A couple other notes I want to drop. The opening drum track contains a sample from the song Cecilia by Simon and Garfunkel, and the bridge contains a sample from the song Car Thief by the Beastie Boys. Anyway, a lot of sampling going on. All right, moving on. Thoughts on the original, John?
The original, it's not very guitar heavy.
No.
The guitars are in there, but they're buried a little bit behind the percussion and the bass primarily, and some
Yes.
keyboards, which is really not that unusual for Faith No More. They weren't really a guitar forward band. Maybe
Yeah, but there
more
was
so,
definitely more guitar on the previous album.
yeah, maybe more so on the real thing than there was on this one. What really shines on this version are Patton's vocals. He's got this, it's almost a bipolar like vocal
Yes.
quality. He
Yes.
goes from it's not a rough vocal, but it's like a Jekyll and Hyde. It's a little dirtier vocal on the verses and a much cleaner verse vocal on the choruses.
Yes. Yes.
And that's one thing Patton does. Patton's got some vocal acrobatics that, he probably shouldn't have had at the age. I don't know that he had.
True.
I don't know that he had any formal training, but again, his stuff really shines on this, and that's probably why I like it so much, and it stayed such an earworm. Even when I quit listening to Faith No More for a while, this song still would occasionally I'd cop up, I'd have to dig back in the days when you had to dig through CDs, kids, and not just find it on a streaming service. I'm like, I still have a copy of Angel Dust buried somewhere in one of those boxes of CDs. I need to dig it out and listen to Midlife Crisis.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I have the CD and the vinyl copy of the real thing, but I do not own Angel Dust, so
Yeah,
don't. But oh well, that's all right. So I will kind of backpack or piggyback on your comment about the guitar. So yes, there is no guitar in this song for the first 52 seconds. It's all, you got the drums and the bass kicks in, and the vocals come in. But yeah, it's at 52 seconds is when we actually start getting some guitar.
mhm,
Um, Now, that being said, the production overall on the song is fantastic. There
yeah,
is a lot of layers going on, a lot of, especially at the very end, the last minute is, there's lots of different vocal tracks going on, lots of keyboards, the drums are a little bit fuller at the end, and of course
mhm,
you actually have some guitar too. So there's a lot of things going on. It is definitely a song that benefits from listening to it on headphones. I'm not saying don't blare it loud on the stereo, but I am saying that headphones are a nice touch because you can really hear the the quality of the production on it. I do like the build up it does have to the chorus. And as
yeah,
you said, with the vocals with Patton at the very beginning, it's almost like I kind of, every time I listen to it, I kind of picture like somebody sitting, maybe in their car or in a corner, like a little upset about things. And that's just kind of the tone he has when he's like, he's just a little,
yeah, yeah,
little
yeah.
irritated, that something's bothering him. And then he jumps into the great sounding chorus. So
Mhm.
yeah, I agree with all that. Love the drums from Mike Borden. Solid
How
as
can you
always.
not?
I know it sounds so good, so crisp. Um, you almost like you set your watch to his drums. I will say, and this goes back to the point of guitars, a lack of guitar solo bothers me a little bit. It's not that I will call it. I don't. It's not really a lead break. It's not really a. It's just that weird section in the middle where
Yeah,
it's fun, but part of me is kind of like, give me something. Give me a keyboard solo. Give me something. It's just kind of I don't know. It's a weird section. It's not bad. It kind of
yeah.
fits with what they were doing for this album. They wanted to be more theatrical and fine. But I mean, I'm old fashioned. I kind of like leads here and there, but that's okay.
Yeah, I
And
don't know that this song would have necessarily benefited from a guitar solo per se, but there's
so yeah,
something.
something though, a little bit something else in there. But it's listening to this song and also listening to the rest of the album, you can kind of tell why Martin left. It's painfully obvious because he probably felt like he was
Yeah,
getting pushed out. So, and going back to one of the things that John and Tim and Eric love to point out to me, this I don't always like songs that have fade outs, and this one has a very long fade out at the end.
I
long
was going to
one.
bring that up at some point.
Yeah, well, it sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And for this one, it doesn't hurt it, but I just want it's a long one. And just end the song. End the song. Like let's okay. It's a good song. I do like it very much. And it's definitely a high point of the album, as you said before, and it was a very popular single as well. So, yeah. Anything else you want to mention on the original before we jump to the cover?
I mean, just to piggyback off your fade out comment, I think this is one of the songs where, yeah, it's a long fade out, but I think, at least in my mind, it works because it ties into, I mean, if you want to tie it into what Patton was saying about, the falseness of Madonna or whatever it was,
Right.
this is just a repetitive cycle going forward. It's not
Fair.
going to end. So maybe I'm extrapolating a little bit too much, but yeah, thought just came to me when you mentioned that. I'm like, and it just occurred to me that maybe there was a point to the long fade out.
And there might have been. There might have been. Sometimes, like I said, sometimes they work for me, sometimes they don't. I just have of the mind that, you have to practice it, you have to rehearse it, and at some point you're ending the song. So just find the ending you like and put it on the album. But anyway, all right, let's hop on over to the cover version. Disturbed has actually covered the song twice. Once for a Faith No More tribute album, and then the second time was on the B side for the album Indestructible. And then a re-recorded version was released on Covered, A Revolution in Sound, and a remastered third release appears on the B-sides album The Lost Children, which was released in November 2011. Now, I want to point out instantly here, now the cover version is 17 seconds shorter, and I think part of that might be the tempo because it does feel a little bit quicker, not much, but it's because they actually found the ending to the song. There is no fade out in this version. Just ripping the band-aid off right away. And that's one of the high points of this song is there is no fade out. Anyway, John, thoughts on the cover version?
I was looking up for some information on this last night, just briefly, and I stumbled across a Reddit thread
Okay.
dedicated to this cover. And somebody asked thoughts, and one of the first responses was, "It sounds like somebody let a very capable bar band into a really nice studio."
I don't know
um,
if that's a good thing or bad thing.
I don't
I
either. Now,
mean,
I like the overall sound of the cover.
yes.
I do like the way the drums are really heavy and pushed forward, and they have a little bit more of a there's like a bongo feel in there or something.
Okay.
I mean, or tone, not a feel, might be the
Yeah.
best way. Um, I don't think David Draymond, and he's an amazing vocalist. I'm not taking anything away from him. His vocals are good, but they're just not quite as good as Patton in my mind.
See,
Um,
that's funny because I feel the exact opposite. I think they're very true to Patton's. Like they feel very similar.
they're
Um,
similar, but they're
but
just don't
okay.
they don't they just there's a level that Patton gets to that, and Draymond
And
is again more than capable vocalist. Nothing away. I just think the song is too their version is too clean.
okay.
And I think
See,
that's because that's advancements in production.
that's
It's
interesting because I don't feel it's cleaner. I feel it's heavier. It's
it
got more
is
chunk to
heavier,
it.
but
It's
I'm
guitar
wondering
driven as opposed to keyboard
it
driven like the
is,
other one, and I much prefer that to be
and
really
I'm wondering if
honest.
it almost sounds like it's a dropped tuning as well. I'm not
It
sure
might
about
be.
it.
I didn't.
I don't have a musical ear for that, so
Yeah.
please forgive me.
Right.
Um, and to piggyback off of your ending thing, it's weird but listening to it this listening I was on my way to work today and I made a little a little short playlist with just these two songs,
Right.
and I've never compared them back to back. And whereas the Faith No More, like you said, repeats and repeats and repeats and fades out, it seems to stay at the same tempo for some reason. Theirs, and it's probably just my ears or a trick or whatever, seems to speed up as it gets
Well,
towards
they
the
change
end.
it. They change the ending
Okay, so
to
it wasn't
yeah, they
just
do
me.
yeah, no. They do change the ending to work towards an actual ending or stop it as opposed to a
Yeah.
fade out. So yes,
um
which I like because you can tell it's like it's doing its repeat repeat. Then they go nope, just kidding. We're gonna end the song, and they do like one more
yeah.
count or whatever, and then they end the song,
Yeah.
which I like. So
But all the criticism that I've labeled aside, and it's a very minor criticism. It's very true to the spirit of the original, and I can
Yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah. They didn't add a guitar solo, you know. They left that weird section pretty much alone. But like I said, it's more guitar driven, which I kind of appreciate. And there is keyboards in there, but they are more, complementing the guitars
Yeah,
and what's there. Now, I will agree. I think Draymond does a great job during the overall with the vocals. His take during the verses are very similar to Patton, and I will concede that Patton does a better job during the chorus. All that being said, to me, I mean, you're right. It's a very straightforward cover, all
hmm,
in all, and the whole bar band thing, I get it because it's not like they Disturbed really didn't do anything to the song except for bringing their guitar sound to the song, which is fine, and you
yeah,
know, to I mean, obviously, if you played them side by side like we did for this, you can tell the difference. You can hear the tone in the guitar, but to somebody else, they probably wouldn't even notice. Your average, um, you know, listener probably might not pick it up until they maybe even heard the vocals. I don't know, but I don't know. I think they did a great job covering it. I can understand why they covered it. Once I heard it, I was like, okay, they got the chops to make it sound pretty good. So, I don't really have anything else to say. I really enjoyed the cover. So,
yeah. I like it too. And there's nothing wrong with doing a note for note cover. You just have to commit to it, and while you're doing it, in my mind, to make it yours, which you're never fully going to make it yours, you got to add your little nuances to it, which
right,
Disturbed clearly did, but
right.
by pushing the guitars forward. Um, like you said with Dave, Patton's better in the chorus on the
Yeah,
vocals,
yeah.
and I think that's because Dave just doesn't his voice doesn't change that much between verse and
Okay,
and chorus. And,
gotcha.
Patton's got, like I said, like a Jekyll and Hyde type thing going on, and it's there for Dave, but it's not as pronounced
All right. Yeah, I see that. I can
because
see
he's got
that.
a little bit of gravel in his clean vocals too.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. All right. All right. Well, all that being said, let's go ahead and decide which we prefer. Um, John, which of the two versions do you like better?
I was really torn about this one. This is one of
Okay.
the few ones that I was torn about. Um, Overall, I'm probably going to give them a tie with an edge going towards the original.
Okay.
The original was just so groundbreaking that it's
Right.
kind of hard for me to have a cover better it.
All right. That's fair. That's fair. See, for me, if I was going to pick between the two to say add to a playlist or whatever, I'm picking Disturbed's cover.
And I'm
For
surprised
me,
to hear that.
it checks a few more boxes for me, um, because I like it, and they have proven that they can do covers very well. And as we mentioned in our top seven covers episode, not every band do covers very well. Uh, but check out those lists because everybody on that list did a great job. Um, there are I'm not going to mention names right now, but there are some people that just can't do covers very well. And for me, I like the little changes they did. Like I said, I like the guitar driven aspect of it more. Um, but yeah, if I'm picking between the two, for me, it's Disturbed. Just enough.
Mhm.
I'm not going to be waiting to say it's a tie. No, it's not a tie.
I knew I couldn't leave it in a tie, so I had to give the edge to somebody.
No, it's very good. I do want to thank you again for bringing this one to my attention because
Oh,
like I said, I'd never heard the cover version. So, anybody watching the video and wants to comment below on it, if there's a song, original and cover version you want us to talk about, please drop it in the comments and let us know. But yeah, so thank you, John, for bringing it to my attention. Thank you for being on yet another YouTube video with us.
I appreciate it, and hopefully you get a few watches in spite of me being here.
Go check out John's art on Facebook. JW Art Studios, the Art of John Wright on Facebook. There you go, right there. And if you can see, there I have some behind me. He's some Muppet artwork for me as well as uh, Gossamer chasing Shaggy and Scooby, another favorite of mine. So
Come see me
um,
at Whorehound, folks.
that's right. We're both going to be all around. All right. So Let us know what you think of these two songs. I will put links for both versions in the show notes below. Give them a listen and let us know. Do us a favor, like every other YouTube content creator says, like the video, subscribe so you don't miss anything, and of course, drop a comment. Anything you do down there does help us get seen by more people. Some other videos coming to the stream. Amber's top 7 Irish songs just in time for St. Patrick's Day. And I'm working on my top 7 Rush albums, which is first, my top 3 are pretty easy. After that, it gets a little bit hard to separate them because I said in another one of our episodes, Rush episodes, they've never really made a bad album. So it gets kind of tough. And if you haven't yet, my top 7 songs from Led Zeppelin just hit a couple weeks back. So go check that out if you haven't. So, anyway, with all that being said, thanks for spending time with us. And always, thanks for watching.